And I want to thank you all for coming to our first finalist interview for the high school principal position. And so we have with us tonight, Katie DiNardo. Katie has spent the day interviewing. So if she, there was jokes, probably answered the same questions going on 4 times and going on 5 now. So it's been a long day for her. So, she had a great interview today, met with students, met with the department heads, and then also met with faculty this afternoon. So, Katie, I'm going to leave it to you to give your elevator speech as to who you are and why you want to be the principal.
Great, thank you. So my name's Katie DiNardo. I'm currently the assistant principal at Masco. I've been here 12 years. I've been an assistant principal for 16, and I've been in education roughly 22 years. I love being at Masco. The position opened unexpectedly, and I think I'm at a point in my life that it's a great challenge and a great time to move forward. I've been wanting to be a principal for many years, wasn't sure when the timing was right, with my family and different things, as you know, in life. And when Mary Jo and I talked, and she said she was moving on, and I thought I'd throw my hat in the ring. I love the school, I love the teachers and all the students and working with everyone. And so that drew me to the position that I want to continue moving Masco forward.
Great, thank you. So now we're going to open this up to questions from members of the audience. If you could raise your hand, and then we can have you unmuted. So who has a question? Okay, Gretchen, see ya. Gotcha.
Hi, sorry, I don't see the raise hand function right now, so sorry for having to do the old school method.
That's okay.
So hi, Gretchen Fishman from Boxford. I have 4 questions on behalf of the CPAC. So like every time I do this, or cut me off, please. Somebody should feel free to do that. With that said, I'm going to jump in and thank you so much for meeting with us tonight. It's good to see you again. Okay, question number 1. Disability is the largest minority group in our district, yet we continue to see outdated classroom management and practices despite all of the evidence that is now available regarding best practices for inclusion and reaching all students. How do you intend to lead the Masconomet community in the cultural shift and professional development that must happen to ensure equitable access for students with learning differences?
Sure, absolutely. So I know right now, the special ed department's currently in the middle of their audit, which happens regularly. So it just happens to be our cycle, but it is the topic this year, doing more inclusion, much to your point, and working with students with disabilities, and to the professional development, really working with the academic coordinators. And I know they've been working with an outside person this year to work on the co-teaching and the inclusion model. So it's something that has started already. And from my position, it would be something to continue to foster. For the last 6 years, I've been the 504 coordinator. So I have been working with both. I know 504 is not special ed, but both working with special ed as well as students with other disabilities. And so I've had my hand in it, attending all the meetings and knowing kind of what students need. And I think it's really working with Lynn Bennett in the special ed department and getting the teachers the professional development they need. But I do know that this year they have been working very hard on that with an outside provider. And I think it's really fostering that continue. And then also working with parents like yourself and the different groups, and making sure that we are meeting the needs of all the students.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yep.
Next question. In 2022, DESE created and circulated a draft document called Developing a Continuum of Services for Advanced Learning and Talent Development. In the introduction, the commissioner states this: equity is a commitment to every student receiving a challenging and enriching education matched to their needs, and the acknowledgement that there are students in need of advanced learning services in every school and from every demographic group. We've heard from families in the district that subject matter and grade level acceleration has been denied to students, despite the fact that DESE has recommended this accommodation. While this is not differentiated instruction, which should actually be happening in Tier 1 instruction, it is a cost and time effective method for schools and teachers. How will you support acceleration for gifted learners?
I think that would be working in collaboration with the department heads as to the availability of the staff before school, after school, during school, making accommodations, but it's something that needs to be looked at. But because it's curriculum based and each subject based, I think it is important that you work with all the department heads as to what we can do budgetary wise. Or is there an offering that needs to happen? I don't want to behold anything I say here, but like, is there, offerings, outside the building? I know in the past for math, sometimes we've offered some things outside the building, because there are students who are very gifted. And sometimes we can offer it here, sometimes we cannot, and ways to make sure that they are getting the education that they deserve. But we also are constrained within a certain amount of hours and a certain amount of teachers. So I think you need to get creative and look at some of the different options that are available. So you don't want to hinder the development of students, but we also have to work within the constraints that we have within the building. But I think that's where you have to work creatively within each department as to what we can do.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Next, according to the YRBS data from 2021, students on IEPs are at risk for several alarming trends. For example, students on IEPs at Masco are more than 3 times more likely to use drugs and alcohol to manage stress, twice as likely to self-harm, 2 times more likely to feel unsafe in school, and are less likely to report that they feel valued by peers. Overall, 64.8% of the student body feel that they are supported and encouraged by teachers, meaning over 30% do not. Given that we know that having only one trusted adult is a protective factor for mental health, and that the rates of suicide for adults with disabilities are significantly higher than the general population, can you please describe your experience building community for our most at-risk kids at Masco and ideas on how to improve our outcomes? How will you ensure that no child is slipping through the cracks?
Yep. So I think it's really important that we concentrate on all children. And we always want to talk about the kids who are left behind. There's some who have tons and tons of support, some who kind of come in and do their thing. But I think it's important to continue with the social emotional learning that we've been doing and training all the staff to see warning signs. And also what I talked with the kids and the teachers today is that I think it's really important that all the staff build relationships with the student. You don't know their backgrounds and you really need to know where they're coming from. You don't know what they're walking in with always. And so building a relationship with a student will make the student feel more comfortable and thus will expand the support systems within the building. And I think also just reminding everyone how many adjustment counselors we have, the school counseling office that are always available, the academic support teachers that, and everyone's continually going through training, and that is the school's push for now in the next few years, or the social emotional learning amongst other things, and just really teaching everybody signs. We have signs that the teachers need to be aware of if they see a student in need. And really, to me, it's building a relationship within the classroom. Start the year off. Who are you? What are your likes? What are your hobbies? Just building a relationship. And so it's not just, name, rank, serial number when you're in the classroom with the teacher. And we're really working with the staff on building that. And I know the last few years it's hard because they hadn't seen them for a while. And so it's just really reminding everyone that, everyone's an individual and you need to get to know them. And people are really good here and really learning and working hard. And I've had teachers kind of pop in, Susie's been on, and all of a sudden, like, I've seen 4 days, she's not looking good. Can we touch base? Can we, find the student? What's going on? And so just really training the staff on things to look for and building the relationships and being, having more personal conversations with the kids as well and help them build that. And also, I think, as I said to the students today, we need their voice. what do they need? What are they missing? They're in the classroom with the staff, they're walking around the building. Are there glaring things that we're missing? Are there things that they think are going well, not going well, that we need to implement where we thought we were doing well, and they're saying, no, you're missing the boat on this. So I think the students need to also have a voice in all of us moving forward on the mental health of the students.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
And last question. Academic proficiency for all students is a priority of the CPAC. That should shock no one that knows us. I've had 2 highly proficient readers at Masco, both of whom also exhibit gaps in foundational skills. In my personal experience and feedback the CPAC has received from other parents, these gaps are blamed on poor learner qualities rather than acknowledging that we are a balanced literacy district and that many students are missing or have poor foundational skills. Can you please speak to the thoughts you have? Oops, sorry, hold on. I've rewritten that. Wait. Sorry. Are you familiar with the science of reading movement? And can you speak to whether or not you support that teachers of every subject have a role to play in literacy proficiency, even at the high school level?
Definitely. I know that what I've seen here is that they're working really hard with all students, and there are gaps right now with all students, whether they have an IEP or not. There's definitely gaps in the last couple of years based on the way things have been. But absolutely that all teachers are working with the literacy. We're adding more books into different subjects that might not, it's not just English that's doing novel reading and stuff. And a whole bunch of books actually just showed up for history for next year that are novels and documentaries and stuff. And I think even in math, they're really working on with the word problems and working on fluency and understanding how so I mean it's definitely because you do see gaps, and I don't want to belabor the whole COVID, but there are gaps from I see it in my own children, and so teachers are working really hard to close those gaps because you weren't seeing, or kids weren't necessarily as engaged behind a computer screen. So I've seen the math really working, like I said, with the word problems or how directions are written. And so I think the whole staff is working with reading fluency. You see it mostly in the humanities, but it is working across in the others because there's students are missing things. So everyone's aware of it. And I think it's something that we're continuing to work on.
So I'm curious, and you get a little leg up because you're in the building on this, but do you see support from teachers across all departments? Yes.
I do. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I would say
All right.
5 years ago, probably not, but today, yes.
Excellent.
There's been a big shift.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Anybody else with a question? Go ahead, Leah.
So I actually wrote this down because you guys who know me know I can be a bit verbose. So I kind of have a quick comment and a follow-up question for Katie. My name is Leah Campbell. I'm an adjustment counselor at the high school. So when I think of a leader, I think about the words trustworthy, approachable, authentic, person-centered, reliable, consistent, accessible, morale boosting, and most importantly, calm in crisis. Luckily for the students and staff at Masco, those are also the words that specifically describe you, Katie, our current vice principal and also our in-house go-to. I believe that a leader possessing these stated qualities naturally fosters an environment where people feel safe. And when students and staff feel safe, we all know we can perform their best. In a time when there is so much at stake for our kids, to feel like school is a place that teaches not just how to academically excel, but how to excel as a human, having a leader with an open door where all people, adults and kids, in the building feel heard, supported, and prioritized is essential. Learning and teaching can then be the focus because social and emotional needs are met and people are seen as people. And because of that, the kids and the adults at Masco go to Katie regularly and can be honest with concerns that she can then address head on and with the confidence and calm we all depend on. With that being said, I have had the privilege to work alongside Katie over the last 6 years and have witnessed firsthand, more times than I can count, Katie's ability to connect with youth left behind, as Gretchen just mentioned, during high-risk times and truly save lives due to her genuine pre-existing rapport and ability to jump in and problem solve no matter what the situation. But for some of those that might not get to see you and work with you every day like I do, unfortunately, and see how the day-to-day doings around the building play out, can you share with all of us what you feel like your most valuable strengths are and how you'd use these in your new role as principal?
Sure. Thank you first. So I come from, for those who don't know, I was a guidance counselor for many years and then became an assistant principal. So my background is social, emotional, and relationship building. So I think that my strength is just building relationships with people. I like to go to classrooms. I like to talk to teachers. Kids in the hallway look at me funny when I'm like, hi, how you doing? And they're like, who are you? Like, why are you waving at me? I've always had an open door. I get in trouble sometimes. I kind of harbor fugitives if they're having a rough day. They'll sit with me and just get some work done. During M Block, I have a crew that comes in here and kind of hangs out and talked about prom on Friday. Today we were discussing that. And so it's just, to me, you've got to meet the kids where they're at. Because as I said before, you don't know where they're coming from. I don't know everybody's background. All I want them to do is feel comfortable coming into the building, or find somebody that's here for them and know that I have their back no matter what, and have the teachers' backs no matter what. Because they've walked in here, this is their safe place. We want them to be educated. We want them to be able to be successful outside of the high school. Our goal is to make you a successful human being outside of here, whether you go to right to work, whether you go to a trade, whether you go to the military, whether you go to college, whatever it is, you need to have messed up in high school and learn the rights and the wrongs while you're here. And that way you can be a successful individual outside of here. So I always have the open door. There's no hold bar with me. Kids can say what they want. There's no judgment. Teachers, same thing, come in, come vent. What do you need? How do we get you there? So I think with my whole background of being psychology based, and I'm constantly taking different classes. I just finished a series of 5. I took the Harvard Leadership series a couple of years ago. I just took a whole human resource, skillful leader series along with DEI, and just constantly learning and meeting people where we're at. As the world keeps changing, people keep changing. And so I just want to be able to support everyone, whatever your needs are, support you where you need to go, but then also get the staff where we need to go, use the resources that we have in-house, and let's, kind of bring it to the next level.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else with questions? I've got a bunch that were emailed to me, so.
So I'm not off the hook.
No, sorry. So I'll throw one out there. So one of the questions that was sent to me was, if you can talk about your experience, what would you bring to the role of the principal with regards to supporting curriculum review across the departments?
Yep. So being that I'm from the social emotional background, I would rely on the department heads and their expertise. They're all very knowledgeable about their curriculum. I've had many conversations with them over the years of different professional development that we need to get the teachers working with other schools, not necessarily just bringing in speakers, but more hands-on, and just keeping within the state standards, but getting creative. And because you want to keep the kids interested, they're not always interested in just, lecture style. So talking about different project-based learning, different ways to assess students, whether it's essay, like doing projects, singing a song to prove how you've, read the book. I just had a student write lyrics out, proving, that they read. So I think it's really looking at the whole child, but working with the department heads as to what do they need and really help foster that.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, gonna go with the next one. So we presently do not have a formal feedback system for teachers that includes department head insights and student body feedback. So this has been brought up as an area of importance for the Topsfield community. Would you be interested in proposing and implementing a system that allows teachers to get a more comprehensive evaluation that includes formal solicited feedback from students?
Absolutely. I mean, it's always good to know what's going on. I mean, we want to know if we're doing the right things. We want to know if kids are understanding what's going on. I met with a group of students today, and there should always be like a suggestion box. Like, what do you want from me? What are you seeing? You know, and I think within reason, I mean, in college, you always had to fill out a thing about your professor, you know, sometimes. And also, I mean, we want to be, you know, mindful of what we're asking. But I think the students should be able to evaluate a little bit.
All right, next one. So how do you bridge the gap between administration and faculty?
That is purely relationship building. I think having faculty meetings where everyone's involved, not just stand and lecture, allow people to feel comfortable to be heard, to be able to bring their concerns forward. And it's really face-to-face conversations and building a relationship where there's trust. If you don't have trust, you're not going to bridge that gap at all.
No, excuse me. How will you address old educational structures with what students need to thrive in our modern environment?
I think again, that's working with the department heads, but I had a conversation with the students and the department heads today, looking at, I said, you know, bring us into the modern world. And they were like, it kind of explained, I said, you know, things keep changing. Things are always changing. And we need to be able to continue to stay on top of that. For example, I mean, I don't know how many years ago, but when a laptop came out, everyone thought it would be the worst thing in the world. And now we can't live without them. So I was talking with the students today, like this whole AI, like it's not going away. I think we need to figure out, you know, I'm on a educator blog where they're talking about how they're using the chat GBT in the schools and how you can find ways to make use of the thing instead of things being the dreaded new technology or the dreaded new thing coming forward. And I think that's where the students having a voice of where they're at, and the teachers knowing, yes, we still have to teach the ABCs, but you know, I think we can maybe do it a little bit differently. And the staff at Masco, they're fantastic and they're willing to try new things and they're willing to, you know, we still have our standards that we have to stay with. But I think people are willing to get creative and get things done because it also changes up their day too. You know, I mean, they're teaching the same thing every day. So, you know, if you've been teaching it for a long time, you want to try something new, try a different book, try a different way of teaching it. And I think as long as everybody has a voice and we cover all the standards, I think we can keep moving forward. Like you said, taking the old curriculum and the old ways and make them, you know, new and fresh.
All right, next one here is, how do you balance a strong union with the need to collaborate and create relationships with staff and faculty?
I think it's having a relationship with the union. I think you definitely need to have regular meetings with them, maybe even monthly, of, you know, what is going on? Is there what's the pulse of the teachers? Is there something that's, you know, missing? If you don't have relationships, you're going to get blindsided by something. And, you know, I'd rather fix things when they're small problems instead of big problems. And I think that goes back to relationship building, but constantly face to face, not email, not, you know, you need to have face to face conversations with the union. You know, what are we missing? Is it something at the middle school? Is it something at the high school? And I think to me, it's a big deal to really merge the middle and high school and not have them be such two separate places. And if, you know, everybody starts to get to know each other and work together, you can kind of starve off some of the union issues if you have the conversations beforehand.
Does anybody else have a question they want to ask? I still have two more that were sent in to me. But... No? Okay. All right, next one. How do you elevate morale while having good accountability standards?
That's trust. That goes back to the trust. Morale. You need to have, teachers need to have buy-in. You need to have different things, you know, professional development that they feel is to their curriculum. Then you need to have professional development that the whole staff is involved in. And having face-to-face conversations and pulling people out of their classroom, getting them involved, doing little things, and they sound, you know, corny, but, you know, not necessarily icebreakers, but if they all don't know each other, they're not going to become a cohesive group. So I think having kind of getting to know who the other staff is in the building while we're doing faculty meetings and getting the nitty-gritty done, but also, hey, go meet your neighbor, you know, go do this. Like I said to the kids and to the staff today, I mean, we were talking about a bunch of different teachers, and a couple of people in the room are like, who is that? Now it's May, you know, we shouldn't be asking who is that of your colleague. You haven't met them, you don't know who they are, you don't know what they look like. And that's really pulling people out of their classroom and saying that there's, you know, mixing up departments, doing like little fun games. Who are you? Where are you from? What's your background? How many years have you been here? Right now, people are isolated. So it's really pulling them during some of our downtime out and getting to know each other. Not necessarily downtime, that's the wrong word, but non-teaching hours.
All right. And then the last one, will you incorporate trauma-informed practices into Masco's procedures? Are you willing to equip adults with the tools needed to deal with students in this area? And if so, what ideas do you have for doing this?
Absolutely. Kids have had a lot of trauma in the last few years, and we can't ignore that. And I think really working with the adjustment counselors, and they're working with the teachers through some of our professional development of really going over what trauma kids are working with, what are signs of trauma, whether it's something we're aware of or not aware of, and just really bringing in speakers, working with the staff, but then also working, you know, letting the kids know it's okay. You can exhibit, we're here to support you. We're here to help you through things. And in that light, we're training the teachers on how to support you. As I say, teachers are no longer just teaching, you know, teachers are security guards, therapists, you know, the parent that the kids don't have, and teaching chemistry. And so we're, you know, I think it's really important to continue to foster their knowledge, so you're not dropping something on them that they don't even know how to deal with. And I think that right now the adjustment counselors are doing a fantastic job, you know, sending out monthly things to the teachers of, hey, this is something that's come up. Here's an article to read. We're doing professional development where they're, you know, able to talk amongst each other on different scenarios that are real Masco scenarios. You know, they're not pulled out of a book. This is happening in our building. And I think when there's crisis in the building and somebody asks because it's about one of their students, I think it's important, you know, not crossing HIPAA lines or anything like that, but important that they're aware of where the student's at and what they're struggling with. And, you know, they might be out for 6 weeks, they might be out for 2 weeks, or, you know, I need you to treat them with a little kid glove right now for the next couple of weeks. And teachers are really eager to learn on how to work with that. And the feedback from this year is they're enjoying that part of their professional development and looking to have more next year, and really just to continue to be kept up to date on how to be the eyes and ears in a classroom for that.
Anybody else have any questions? That was the last one I had that was emailed in today. Okay, I think we're done. Thank you again, Katie. Great job.
Thank you.
I want to thank everybody here for joining in. Appreciate you taking the time out on a Tuesday night to come here, hear what Katie had to say. So thank you all.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.